Faithfulness. So welcome back to Faithful Friday. For the last case for this week, we are going to the country of South Africa. This case we have another cult. So there are multiple members in the group, but of course the leader is a female. As you can imagine, it's not a well-known cult, despite the confirmed number of victims that they have. I don't know, it's because it happened over there, but I know how it happened in the U.S. I feel like we definitely will be talking about it more. If you've heard of this cult, definitely let me know. I had never heard of this cult until I had watched Sharon Dale's video, which is the first video I have linked down below. I think so I found out this cult through her, so shout out to her. That's why she's listed as first, because I got most of my information, in fact, from her, and then I had to go do my own research, of course, and I got information from 4 other sources. Those are listed down below as well. But yeah, like I said, there is a lot, so I'm going to quit my rambling. I'm going to give what is publicly known, what's that I could find, and let's go and get started. So, of course, we're going to have to start off with the leader, Cecilia. She was born December 22nd, 1980. It was said that she was a twin, but unfortunately her brother died while still in the womb. So she, out of the two of them, was the only one to survive. And it said that as a kid she played with guns, and I assumed that they meant real guns, because obviously it feels like toy guns. I feel like they probably wouldn't have mentioned that, but maybe they would have, considering what she wound up doing. But it seemed like, from what I read, it seemed like she was playing with real guns as a child. Now, whether or not she was supervised, it didn't say that. It just said she was playing with guns. Now, apparently she would get expelled at 14 for fighting. And the person that she fought, it didn't say whether she won or she lost, but apparently she threatened to put a curse on them. She would wind up getting married, but then get divorced. She winds up marrying an officer by the name of Andreas Stein, or Stein, however you want to pronounce it. And that's why she has the last name that she has in the media, because of him, because she married him 2 months after they get married. In 2003, they had a son. And then in 2006, she gets pregnant. So now she's a mother of 2. So then Cecilia one day would reach out to a woman by the name of Rhea Grunwald, who apparently was the founder of Overcomers of Christ, which basically is a group that combats Satanism. So then Cecilia comes out with the claim that, hey, one of my friends is going to hurt their kids, and I'm worried about something happens to those kids. So understandably, Rhea would be concerned too. She's like, hey, I have police connections. If you're genuinely worried, I can get them to stop your friend before she does something drastic, essentially. And so then Cecilia was like, no, I don't trust the police. Even though, again, remember, she's married to Andreas, who is the police. So then she would claim that her family was a bunch of witches, and that her mom apparently was a witch who had gained power from abusing her as a child, and that she pretty much had her powers weakened when she transferred over to Christianity. However, she could still transform into a werewolf, vampire, or even the ability to teleport. So then apparently Rhea and Cecilia were hanging out pretty often, because Rhea understandably was genuinely concerned about Cecilia. And apparently Rhea left Cecilia alone for a couple hours, came back. Cecilia had a whole bunch of welts on her back, bruises. So of course she asked her oh, what happened? Because I left you alone. How did this happen? And then Cecilia claimed that her dad, because remember she's pretending that her dad is magical and shit. She says, oh, it was my dad. I'm being punished because I'm talking to the enemy. Because they're practicing Satanism and you're the opposite of that, so obviously you would be considered the enemy. And so then apparently there's this a visible perimeter around her. And if I were to somehow get out of this a visible perimeter that he set up, I would drop dead. So then Rhea, because she's only one person, remember she's the founder of a group, so she also got other shit to do other than watch Cecilia's grown ass. So she invites Candace, who's a friend of hers, to watch her. Hey, can you watch her when I can't? Because I'm only one person, I can only do so much. So then Candace apparently comes over. Then they would get then Rhea would get a group of her friends come over and pray for Cecilia. And then apparently around midnight, every single night, or most nights at least without fail, she would start screaming, basically saying that it was demons, I'm possessed. That type of stuff. So then, apparently, Cecilia would claim that she had leukemia, which is a type of cancer, bronchitis, and epilepsy. So yeah, the group especially didn't want to leave her alone after finding out that she had those diagnoses, allegedly. Candace, despite actually not knowing Cecilia that well, apparently she was paying for all the medical expenses, because leukemia alone is hell expensive. Because, that's cancer, them cancer treatments are not cheap. But apparently she was falling in love with Cecilia, so she was paying for these treatments for 3 years. So Cecilia, because, she's starting to notice she's being a little attention whore. Rhea is spending less time with her, because obviously, again, she's busy, she has a life, she's married, she knows the shit she gotta do. Well, she claims that Cecilia claims that the people that are closest to Rhea are basically going to suffer. So then the people that are closest to Rhea start distancing themselves, because I guess understandably they don't want to suffer whatever the hell Cecilia's talking about. So then apparently all on top of this, she claimed to have multiple personalities. And so you got Linda, who's a chef. You got Xena, who apparently is a potty mouth, so somebody who's constantly cussing. You got Akeisha, who apparently is the leader of demons. And Anja, who apparently was a toddler. So, like, real young. And apparently, Rhea would come out and say that Anja told her that, I see you as like a mother figure. So in 2007, Rhea meets three important players to our story. We have Miranda, who was the mother, and then she has a son named LaRue and a daughter named Marcel. So then apparently she's divorced, but apparently they're living with her, so obviously I guess assume she gets custody because she's a mom. And so, like I said, she was divorced, so apparently she had a lot of free time, so she would spend that free time with Cecilia. Apparently, she would help Cecilia write this book. It would become like really successful. Cecilia would to offer to like go out and like teach about her experiences, and Rhea would offer to baptize those that wanted to get saved. However, unfortunately, none of the experiences that Cecilia claimed happened to her. She read them on online forums. So then in January of 2010, Zach and Michaela Valentine, they joined the group, and apparently it said that they were engaged. And so Zach basically studied at Northwest University. Michaela was actually a travel agent, and she apparently actually met Zach the year before at a Bible university. And apparently she had plans to become a pastor after getting her degree, and they actually had plans to get married in November of that same year. So then Rhea decides it would be a good idea to introduce the couple to Cecilia. And Zach had apparently recognized Cecilia from years before because apparently they were members of the same church at one point. Another person that was invited to join the group was Natasha Berger, who was 31, and she was invited by her friend Amber. They will come to the story later. And so Rhea apparently was said she would start to extend her program to knowing God. So she reached out to this retired pastor by the name of Reginald Ben Dixon. So then together they come up with the program, and apparently it was known as Know Your Savior. They didn't talk to Cecilia about it at all because apparently they didn't know anything about Satanism. And I guess this kind of made Cecilia kind of salty because anytime that Rhea would be understandably excited and bring up any progress regarding this program, Cecilia and Miranda would apparently mock her. So one day, Candace, who apparently was like Cecilia's like lover, if you remember, she sees Cecilia taking blood out of her own arm, putting the blood into the fingers of a latex glove, tying the fingers of latex glove, and putting it in her mouth. Because remember, like I said, whenever she was having these little spells, in the middle of the night, like the midnight spells, whenever they were praying for her, apparently she would bleed out her mouth. So Candace basically found out how she was doing this every single night. So then Candace would just split from Cecilia with like not saying anything to other members. And then Cecilia would basically say that her father had got to her as to why they had split, and that basically accused Candace of being inappropriate with her toddler alternative Anja. As you can imagine, Cecilia and Miranda, they become like best friends. And she would have her kids watch, who were 14 and 16 at the time. And I think Marcel was 14, so LaRue's 16. They would watch over at the time while she's at work, because like I said, she's a teacher. And she would apparently take off every single Thursday to watch after Cecilia. And Cecilia would claim that some of the members at the church was actually secretly evil, and that somehow convinced some of the members to stop going. So then Cecilia, this is where she cuts off from Rhea's group. She apparently goes and starts her own group, and it's called Electus Adeo, which apparently is chosen by God in Latin. They get tattoos and everything. And apparently this group originally consisted of her, Miranda, LaRue, Marcel, Zach, and Michaela. So then she splits from her husband. Remember, like I said, they had 2 kids together. So obviously she believes he's evil. So she takes her kids that they had together with her. The group apparently moved into an apartment, and Cecilia starts doing meth. So then Amber, who apparently would eventually join the group, she would bring over her boyfriend named James from Rhea's group. So she got him to leave Rhea's group, join Cecilia's group. Miranda apparently did not approve of James. So she goes to Cecilia, who's her best friend, and Cecilia's apparently the leader. So what she says goes, and Cecilia, for whatever reason, apparently approved of James, so James got to stay. Zach would be given whatever checks he was producing to Cecilia. The group was required to give donations to the cause. So they were apparently believing that it was for medical expenses that Cecilia claimed she had that, obviously we know she didn't have. And then apparently there's like other sources saying that it went to making sure that kids do not get sacrificed. And then Rhea, as you can imagine, she's getting like more successful, as she should have. And because, she's just trying to do good in the world. And so then Cecilia would get jealous and then say that, she, basically her group needs to be taken down. She would say that, hey, look, the Church of Satan is taking out their anger on Rhea. They're taking it out on me instead. So we need to take her down so the Church of Satan can basically leave me alone. And then she got LaRue to go on the internet and figure out how to make a bomb. So on July 11, 2012, I guess Rhea was having a meeting at her house. And obviously, to pull up to the meeting, you gotta have like a car. And so there's like multiple cars in the driveway. And they're all inside. sorry, Rhea, Rhea and whoever she's meeting with are all inside, and obviously their cars are parked in the driveway. Well, the group comes with these little homemade bombs. The bombs luckily are unsuccessful. Nobody gets hurt. Police are obviously called, and the group was like, maybe might want to go look at the Church of Satan, because if you fighting against them, they would obviously have beef with you. So you might want to go look at them. Don't look at us, essentially. So this part gets a little confusing. Apparently Cecilia would try to convince Rhea that Natasha was not good, and that she basically saying, look, I'm over here having like dark prayers, and every time Natasha is over here praying to like kill some kids, I basically gotta come in and like say they ass. And Rhea was still on Natasha's side despite Cecilia's claims. So then Cecilia was basically trying to be manipulative, try again. Like, look, if you stay with her, it's gonna be worse for you, essentially. And so then Cecilia's trying to get information out of Amber for information on Natasha, like family, address, any personal information we get out of her is good. She finds out that she has a neighbor who she's very close with, who's like 6 years old, named Joyce. So then Cecilia goes to the group and tells them, look, we need to basically stop Natasha, because she's over here killing kids at the orphanage with like every single prayer that she does, which also, that's like stupid, but I guess Cecilia's just that convincing. So then they come up with a plan, and it is decided that Miranda, Marcel, and Michaela go to Natasha's house basically to kill her. So the plan is have Marcel, who's 14 and doesn't look anything intimidating, basically say like, hey, my cat may be in your backyard, can I go look? And the plan was, obviously she's 14, she looks young, not threatening, let her in, but as she opens the door, the other two are supposed to like run in, and they're all supposed to like basically kill her. That was the plan that they had. However, instead of Natasha, luckily she's like, nah, I'm gonna look for your cat, just in case the slight possibility he is in my backyard, but you wait here. And then apparently Marcel would come back later, like persisting, like, hey, my cat would have to be in your backyard. Like, let me go look, And so Natasha's like, no. So then the trio, they go back and tell the group, like, hey, it was a fail. So then remember Joy, the neighbor that Natasha's apparently like very close to? Cecilia remembers this, and she decides, okay, we're going to bring Joy into the picture. So July 26th, they go over, from what it looks like, Miranda, Zach, and Michaela all go over to Natasha's house and is like, hey, can you like let us into her apartment? Talking to Joy here. Can you let us into her apartment? We're trying to surprise her for her birthday. And I guess her birthday was close enough nearby. And Joyce was like, sure, why not? It's pretty sweet. Don't want to surprise your friend. So then Joy apparently agrees, lets them in. Zach apparently pulls out a knife and says, look, write a note to Natasha so we can leave it on her door, basically saying to come over immediately and you won't be hurt if you do. Joyce, obviously not want to die, she writes the note as agreed, and then Zach apparently tells Miranda, Cecilia wanted you to be the one to kill first. So this will be our first technical victim. Miranda doesn't want Michaela to kill first, for whatever reason. And so then Michaela, she doesn't want to. So then Joy apparently was able to escape for a little bit. Zach is able to apparently get her back, and then he apparently kills her with several objects. So then Michaela was said to have been the one who left the note on Natasha's door, so that way Natasha will come over. Natasha comes over. We assume she sees Joyce's body. She comes in. She's pretty much immediately killed by the group. They obviously leave the scene afterwards. Natasha and Joy are found by a neighbor of theirs, and then police pretty much are told why the Church of Satan is to blame. And then at one point, Rhea herself apparently was even a suspect. But I assume Rhea had like an alibi for where she was at. It's interesting to know that she was a suspect. So maybe they had left something to make it seem like Rhea was involved. Because again, they're trying to bring Rhea's whole thing down. So wouldn't put it past them. So then Cecilia tells the group that Reginald, the retired pastor that was helping Rhea out, he's even a bigger threat, and he's even killing more children than Natasha had. So we gotta take him out too. They scope out his place. Remember, he's a retired pastor. He's doing spiritual counseling. Zach apparently requests an appointment, and they set the appointment for August 13th at 3 p.m. He apparently cancels his appointment an hour ahead of time. So right around 2 o'clock he cancels. And it's assumed Reginald had no other plans. So he was at the house, understandably waiting for Zach because we had an appointment together. So Cecilia would give the group police uniforms that she stole from her husband. Because like I said, her husband was an officer. And then Zach, Miranda, and Marcel, they all go, they basically call him a burner phone. And they basically say, look, we need to question you about the murders of Joy and Natasha. So then Reginald, apparently they go to his house, and then apparently he agreed to be questioned because obviously he has nothing to do with it, but I assume he wants to help any way he can. So he lets him in. Marcel is at the lookout, so she's not physically involved in, well, she is involved in it, but she's not like physically taking this man out. That's for Zach and Michaela. Zach would apparently hit him in the back of the head with the butt of the gun, and he and Michaela pretty much kill him right in his front yard. So then the group disposes of the uniforms because obviously that they would be seen wearing it, and like obviously they're not police, so like why would you even have these uniforms in the first place? And I assume there was also probably blood from Reginald on it, and last time we need is actually tied through any of our victims to anything, because like as you can imagine, there's gonna be multiple victims in this. And so Reginald's wife would unfortunately be the one that found him. Michaela apparently realizes maybe I shouldn't be in this group, and she tells Zach because Zach's her fiance. Well, Zach apparently is very or I guess maybe not faithful, but like very devoted to Cecilia. So he tells Cecilia's like, look, hey, Michaela's a liability, she gotta go too. So then on October 4th, so a whole month before Zach and Michaela are supposed to get married, Miranda goes over to the house on October 4th, and she is the one to carry out the murder of Michaela. So that day, Zach had work, so, perfect alibi, because, what better alibi than work? Because if there's not surveillance, you just got other people saying, oh, no, he was here when the murder really happened, so, yeah. He was crushed sleeping pills and Michaela's coffee, and then apparently leaves Miranda the keys, while there's other sources saying that he left the door unlocked. But either way, she had access to get into the house. So her and Marcel, they come in with an axe and a hammer. Obviously, they kill her. Zach comes back with a realtor to make it seem like, oh, I'm interested in selling my house, because you gotta have a witness to make it seem like you're innocent. So then the realtor will be the one to call the police, because, Zach's over pretending to be shocked, like he didn't know his wife was getting murdered. And so then the realtor will later come out and say that Zach still asks, is it possible we could still sell the house? So by this point in the story, apparently James, who's like Amber's boyfriend, has become like really close with the group. Cecilia, I guess, trusts him enough to tell him about a murder plot that they had on Rhea's son, Joshua. He, luckily, is not a killer, unlike everybody else in this group. And he goes to police about it, and the police are like, unless you got evidence about this murder plot, we can't go further. So then either the police decides to give him a wire, he goes out and buys a wire himself. The point is, he gets a wire, he gets full confessions, doesn't say from who. Joshua obviously gets word of this, and he moves away for his own safety, understandably. And then despite the pretty much full confessions he caught on audio tape, no one ever got arrested for the murder plot. So then Miranda, apparently her job, she was like a 10th grade English teacher, and she wanted to get like voted best teacher around this time. The group winds up adding on John Bernard, and he suggests, we go rob my boss Peter. And he originally suggests, to kidnap one of Peter's kids and hold them for ransom, but Cecilia's like, no, that's too rich. So Miranda basically reaches out to Peter and is pretending to be like a project on some sort of fake project, and apparently he agrees to like, oh, okay, let's meet in my house to discuss these documents. So then November 25th, at the house, it is Peter, his wife Joan, their son, and his girlfriend. They go over the fake documents and they leave. So nothing happens on that day. But then fast forward 2 days later, at the house, it's just Peter and Joan. So I guess they didn't want no other witnesses for what was about to go down. So they come back on the 27th, so 2 days later, and it's Miranda, Zach, and Marcel. So then they pull out the fake documents. Then Miranda apparently pulls out a gun and demands them to get on the ground. They go on the ground. They demand for the safe. They say, look, there is no safe. And then apparently Joan will start getting stabbed while asking Peter, where's the safe? If you don't want your wife to die. And like, look, there is no safe. And then apparently Peter would actually start praying out loud. Eventually, both of them wind up getting killed, and Miranda would get Zach off of Peter, and they get off with about 700 Rand, which converted to US is about $37. So now obviously $37, that's nowhere near enough for the life of two people, obviously. And Cecilia, she's pissed, because I guess she was expecting more, because again, this man's supposedly wealthy. Like, you would think he would have had more in his wallet, but apparently not. So then she sends them to go to the casino to try to see if you can win more money from that $37. They wind up getting nothing. They wind up gambling all the 37 and come back with nothing. So then they decide, okay, we're going to pull out a $3 million Rand life insurance on Zach. Obviously, we're not going to kill Zach. We need somebody who looks like Zach, or at least has the body type of him. We can claim that's his body, get the life insurance. So that's where Gerard Jackson, who's like 44 years old, he comes in. And then apparently Zach would ask Gerard for a ride somewhere, and Gerard apparently had agreed. But before they left, Miranda had made like 2 mango drinks. One that was just regular, that's obviously for Zach. And then the other one has sleeping pills for Gerard. So then Gerard is in the car. LaRue apparently is hidden in the backseat, but would eventually come out the backseat and strangle Gerard. And obviously he is now dead. So they transfer his body over to Zach's car, which is driven by Miranda. They then proceed to, put the gasoline on it, set it on fire, push it off a cliff. Zach obviously goes into hiding because, again, I'm supposed to pretend to be dead and I can't be out seen in public if I am supposedly dead. So then by the time police get to the body, all they found is a ring, and apparently I guess like most of the body was just gone. They couldn't exactly prove that whether or not it was Zach, but it was his car. So of course, who else would be driving it but, you know, the person that was in his car. I guess Miranda was listed as like next of kin somewhere, like actually like a sibling or something. So they call her to like, hey, can you come to the morgue to like verify this is like your brother? And obviously they're not siblings, but basically she's got to pretend to be his sister. She goes down to the morgue and it's like, yes, that is my brother. And then apparently they pretty much immediately call the life insurance company. It's like, yeah, when can we expect that payout? So then, of course, apparently the life insurance company was suspicious because, again, Michaela had died not that long before him. And then also, apparently the beneficiary was changed to Cecilia, and this was changed, like, right before his death. So I didn't exactly understand this part, but apparently there's something that's called paid erringers. Then that's money that should have been paid, like, before Gerard's death that wasn't. So I guess they didn't get the insurance money because of this. And John suggests to go after his, tax advisor, basically, Glenn McGregor. So then Miranda would contact Glenn, basically pretending to need like tax advice, because again, he's a tax advisor, that's his job. So then Glenn sets up the appointment, and then Miranda, John, LaRue, and Zach, they all go over there with the kill kit. And so Glenn would apparently let the group in, and then Miranda pulls out a gun, basically saying, look, if you cooperate, we'll let you live. So then, of course, he laughs and it's a joke. Miranda apparently would start shooting, and they basically tell LaRue and Marcel, look, get anything valuable that you can. Because obviously tax advisors, I guess they just assumed made a lot of money. So not just money, but like anything valuable, like jewelry or anything else. They find nothing else valuable, and Glenn apparently is left alive. So then Miranda, because I guess she didn't want this attempted murder to be like a bust, she proceeds to have Glenn transfer her 6,000 rand, which is about $400. So then Zach pretty much is eventually, because he's pretending to be dead, so he also can't get a job. So he pretty much is pretending to be homeless until he gets into the ministry and goes under the fake name Michael. So we don't hear from Zach for a while. The group then decides, how about we go rob a financial advisor, because they usually make a lot of money and they work from home. And if you work from home, lack of witnesses. So that'd be perfect for our situation. So then Miranda apparently suggests her own financial advisor, Tony Schofield. So then she tells Tony that she has a referral for a friend of hers named Ron. Because obviously they pretty much live off, like they do make a lot apparently over there, but they pretty much live off referral. And this friend named Ron was actually LaRue, but you know, you gotta make it sound convincing. So then they set up the appointment, but the appointment is set up to meet at Miranda's house. So they meet up at Miranda's house. You know, you already know where it's going. Miranda pulls out the gun. LaRue would apparently take him down, so I assume might tackle him and then tie him up. They would take his credit card and also demand for the PIN information, because you know you gotta have that PIN or use the card. Marcel apparently is supposed to go to a nearby ATM to confirm this is in fact the correct PIN. Once it's confirmed to be the correct PIN, LaRue pretty much strangles him. He then dies. So then they put his body in a bin and they take it down the fire escape. They put it in the truck and they put it, I assume, in his truck, and then they leave it in a residential area. So then after 2 hours of his wife not hearing from him, she calls police, and they find his truck, obviously with his body in it pretty quickly. And then around the time that apparently his body is found, LaRue is withdrawing money from the ATM, and he got away with like 1,600 rand. So then the group decides we're going to go after another financial advisor by the name of Kevin McAlpin, who apparently he had just gotten married, and his wife apparently was 7 months pregnant with her kid. And then the sad part is he apparently actually told his wife this would be my last appointment, because I'm gonna move to something that's more like guaranteed income, because apparently financial advisors are commission based. And I guess that commission based wasn't bringing enough money, so he wanted something that's more solid, if that makes sense. And they set up an appointment for May 26th. Pretty much literally a repeat of the previous murder. You know, pretty much pull the gun out, get the card, get the pin. Marcel goes and confirms it's the pin. Once she confirms it's the pin, they strangle him, but right before they did, they let him smoke a cigarette, because apparently he had asked, and I guess they figured we're going to kill you anyway, so might as well get this last little cigarette out. After they strangle him, they then put his body into the truck, and then drive the truck to a basically high crime area, hoping it'll get stolen, because you know, if there's high crime, it'll get stolen, and they'll get blamed for it, not us, essentially. And then basically they got off with only $100 from this murder. So then Miranda apparently was seeing an ad in the paper for a real estate agent called Hanley Ladigan, who apparently she was 52, she was a mother. She was 52, she was married, and she was a mother of 3. So then they set up an appointment to meet up with her 4 days after Kevin's murder, so May 30th, if I'm doing my math right. So then obviously you already know how it is. Hanley is getting held hostage, and then Marcel and John, they go to the ATM with the credit card, trying to get the pin, verifies the pin before we kill her, because that's kind of fucked up. We kill them, and it's not even the right pin. So they go there. They wind up parking in front of a CCTV camera, and the car kept saying error. So we got a call back from my mom saying, hey, it's saying error. And Hanley, sorry, not Joan. Hanley's basically saying, hey, you got to transfer money over to that account in order to be able to withdraw from it. That's what she told them. So then, of course, they give her her phone to where she's able to where, like, hey, transfer the money over so we can get it. And so she proceeds to transfer the money over to her husband's account, hoping he'll see the notification and realize that's a lot of money getting transferred over. Something's wrong. And apparently it worked, and he winds up calling her, like, repeatedly. So then suddenly, I guess she decided to put some money in there to, like, avoid getting them angry any further, because Marcel is suddenly able to get money from this account. Didn't specify how much, but she was able to get some money. So then the husband, he apparently calls back up seeing this, but by this point, the phone is turned off. So now they just confirmed that we do have the correct pin, and there's at least some money in there, even though they didn't know how little apparently money was in there. Miranda, of course, orders LaRue, her son, to kill Hanley. He refuses to, and she says, I will kill you if you don't kill her. And like y'all said, Miranda's the one pulling all these guns. We know she's capable of murder. This man knows that his mom is capable of murder at this point. So then under the order of his mom, LaRue does sadly strangle her, and then her body is put into a Miranda's car, because apparently Hanley, she's a real estate agent, she's also a mom. It didn't specify what decals that she had on her car, but apparently there would be some very recognizable ones, and that's the last thing that we need. Hanley's body is basically dumped behind some bushes, and she's found the next day by some elementary school kids that was just trying to go to school. So the police are starting to realize that these murders are looking very similar, so it's very possible that the same person or people have committed these murders, which they have, so I'm glad they're connecting dots here. And they're looking at surveillance tapes from, I assume, around the areas where the murders have happened or the bodies were at least found. And apparently they recognize LaRue because LaRue had been a suspect in Joshua's murder, which, remember, Joshua was Rhea's son. So the sad part is, when he was arrested, I guess not sad because he was involved in these murders, apparently he realized that his mom was crazy, was trying to get away from her, and was trying to reconnect with his father, and apparently they were on a fishing trip when he got arrested. Marcel and Miranda would get arrested, but Miranda only gets arrested because she had a weed plant in her house. So I guess weed over there is illegal too. And apparently it said that she actually had a weed at the school, so that's a whole other, because remember, like I said, she's a teacher. Voted best teacher of that. So that's a whole other scandal in itself. So then they had evidence on Marcel, so they're able to get her, but not Miranda. But they're like, hey, you got weed, so we can arrest you on that until we get some evidence on you for these murders. So the police apparently get a warrant, and it said that there were a bag of bullets. Even though she was an English teacher, apparently she had, like, ovens in her classroom, and so I don't know if she was doing, like, home ec on the side or some shit, but she had ovens, and apparently in these ovens were just, like, bags of bullets, which I assume were the bullets that were used for the gun that she kept pulling out on people. And the principal of the school, he decides to comply, and it's like, look, I don't know. And look, I don't know why the principal has a copy of Miranda's will, but apparently he has a copy of Miranda's will, and she recently had changed it, and she disowned her kids and left everything to Cecilia. So it's very possible that, like, Cecilia could have been planning to take her out next. I guess the weed plant charge, like, wasn't enough to leave her in jail, because she's released, and she tries to sue the police department for, like, 3 million rand for, like, wrongful arrest for said weed plant, even though it wasn't her, even though she was in possession of it. So then she tells her son LaRue, who was already, remember, he's already in jail by this point, basically take the blame for everything and I'll get you out. So then Zach is eventually found out and arrested. He's found to be at the ministry under the fake name Michael and is arrested. So they get him. On July 29th, 2016, so this spree's been going on for a while, they get Miranda and Cecilia in for faking Zach's death. John is arrested after apparently it's confirmed that he was at several locations, because like I said, he was recommending his boss a financial. He recommended at least 3 of the victims, so obviously he's going to be tied in that somehow. LaRue eventually realized that his mom, Miranda, is using him, so he decides, okay, I'm going to tell everybody roles. Like, Cecilia's the leader, my mom was the backup leader, I was doing this, my sister was doing that, bye-bye. And so he basically gets 7 life sentences, which apparently over there is like 35 years each. So then John, despite suggesting 3 of the confirmed victims for this group, he only gets sentenced to 20 years. So I assume he must have been testifying against the group, like, pretty hard and only get 20 years. Because from what it looks like, he got the lightest sentence out of everybody. Miranda gets 11 life sentences plus 115 years and apparently never testified against Cecilia. So she was still devoted to her even after all this. Zach apparently gets 8 life sentences plus 93 years. Marcel, despite being the youngest and apparently being a minor when the murder started, she gets sentenced to 7 life sentences plus 144 years. Senator Cecilia is sentenced to 13 life sentences plus 115 years. And so all apparently are eligible for parole after serving 25 years. So they're technically eligible for parole and 18 years from the time of this video. Oh, yeah. So 2042, essentially. In March of 2020, John apparently is arrested for having basically sexually abusing a minor, and he is sentenced to 55 years with 20 suspended. Basically an additional 35 years in jail, because I would assume this man is still in jail. But I guess they found it out while he was in jail. So they decided we're just going to slap on an extra 35 years. So if you getting out, you're going to be like hella old. So then in 2022, apparently, I don't know how, but it gets revealed that Cecilia had apparently, because like I said, Cecilia was a member of this cult. Well, it's said that Cecilia had apparently taught another well-known killer over there in Africa, and he's referred to as the Samurai Killer, and his name apparently is like Morn Hamze. So that came out. And then in September of 2023, so just only 8 months ago, John Bernard is actually said to have died in prison, and his cause of death was natural cause. So yeah, that is the case of the Krugersdorp cult. Like I said, not a very well-known cult, but definitely a crazy cult as it is. I can guarantee this video is going to be at least 5 minutes to an hour long, so I guess I'm sorry for that in advance. We'll see how long it gets when I finish editing. Definitely know your thoughts down below. Did anybody know about this case? If anybody's from South Africa, anywhere in Africa, definitely let me know. If there's other cults that are not well known here in the US, definitely let me know, because this one was just, And so with that being said, I cover fatal females 3 times per week. Subscribe for more fatal females, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.
So if I play dead, will you regret everything that you did, that you said? I don't think you understand what you're doing, and my heart's black and blue from the bruising. I feel like when I'm with you I'm losing. I feel like you think that this amusing, sitting there gaslighting and confusing. Was it me? Is it me? Am I deluded?